on, guys!
The simulation of the world, it's kind of separate from the game, but it kind of is the game as well, because the more you can do with the world and the world reacts to you, that's ultimately what makes these big free-form open game worlds, right? And that's what they want to be able to try things differently.
Hey, what took you so long?
Shut the fuck up and drive!
Woo! Did you see that shit? Fucking put that bitch
The very original two Grand Theft Auto games were literally 2D. They kind of a top-down perspective. What that meant was, rather than giving all the performance to 3D and doing maybe a great racing game, because everything had to be about just a couple of cars and driving, we said, no, we think players will appreciate the limitation of a huge 2D world, but if we can make that world so dynamic and so diverse, we gave all our power to the simulation of creating this living city, and it felt like a living city. It felt like you notice all the nuances of buses driving around, and all we ever try to do is just make those worlds like that more and more and more immersive, but at the same time obviously making them look as good as possible as well. When I wrote a game called Lemmings, I mean, basically it was a 2D game, so obviously, pretty basic compared to 3D games. And the whole world consisted of 100 characters, and that was it. And that was hard in those days to get 100 characters in your game world. But when you look at, games nowadays, you want, thousands of characters in your game environment. You want vehicles that drive and the physics behaves correctly. You want, a multitude of weapons. You want those characters to kind of have some level of interaction when you interact with them. So basically, it's just orders of huge magnitude in terms of complexity from where we were even 20 years ago to where we are today. We always want is power. We want as much power, CPU power, graphics power, as we can get into our game to make the simulation as accurate and as realistic as possible. And then as designers, we come in and play around with the rules in the world and say, now we've got to make it fun. Realism is what we strive for because, once again, it lets us change the rules of the world. So some people say, oh, you make the game super realistic, like it's like real life, which is boring. It's like, no, it's just a canvas on which you can then go in and change the rules of the world. But the more the world is super realistic and behaves the way you expect it to, then the richer your games can become. I still think, really, we're still, I would term, in the Stone Age of gaming, actually. Even the most advanced ones today, like GTA 5, you take a rocket launcher and you can go around the city, and this rocket launcher will not do any damage whatsoever to the buildings. We just don't have the budget yet to even make that one change of, I want my big gaming worlds to be dynamic and destructible. So we haven't even, hit that point. The solution for me is, there's a couple of things we need. We need more power, we always do. I think one of the quickest ways we're going to get more power is actually via connectivity. So right now there's tremendous amount of computing power in cloud. Everybody's probably aware of cloud now, just massive, data centers with lots of compute power in cloud there. But obviously they have to deliver that, and that's where connectivity comes in. So for me, it's and connectivity, by the way, is also great for multiplayer games, right? So we get this double lift. So what we want to try and do is use much better connectivity to be able to connect to cloud data centers, do a lot of processing there, and get the results of that simulation back to the clients in your home. To me, it then comes down to things like haptics and how do I now start to feel I actually physically want to be in this complete virtual world, right? So that's a whole new set of technical challenges, which maybe aren't the normal kind of challenges we think about in terms of CPU power and everything. Now we're starting to talk about the physical world around us. How am I more and more immersed in these worlds?